So you've seen a ton of what the meta compositions looks like. However, with the release of Almas, I love trying to make a hero work when you think they really shouldn't. And the team I want to build includes basically none of the meta heroes. We're not going to be using Smokey and Mirky, Arden, Haywin, Rowan, any of those heroes. What we're going to be doing is using heroes that have these knock-up type abilities and grouping abilities that doesn't include Aaron, because let's be honest, if we already have Aaron teams, then what's the point? Instead, we're going to be jumping back into this. Again, we're not pushing like crazy progression here. You can see the powers at like 19. We're at like 13-ish, probably less if we build a less than optimal team, honestly. Let's see what our current power level actually looks like. But we're going to be using a couple different heroes like Cassidy, which is a really cool one. And again, one of my favorite heroes right now, Lamont. The problem with this team though, running it like this, there's no like bonuses or anything. Oh wait, I totally forgot. I have the wrong hero in there too. So we need to add other heroes to this team that are going to help us get bonuses and stuff. In this situation here, I like trying to make heroes work and make things work out for us. We could run something like a Coco to give some additional survivability to this team, which I am cool with. I want to see what that's like. Coco's kind of fallen off to the wayside. Haywin's been like the main hero. This is a quirky team. I'm going to show a better team that I'm really enjoying right now. But again, we could run Soren in this as well. I think the support from Coco would probably be really good. And again, we're going to be proccing a ton of these boulders all over the place. And one thing that Cassidy does is kind of like a ghetto version of Aaron, where she does kind of group the enemies up. Granted, in a team like this, we don't necessarily need that as much, but she does do surprisingly good damage overall. And you have to remember, she's removing magic defense from the enemies, so it synergizes very well with the magic damage that a hero like also can do as well. And we're not using Aaron in this situation, but you can see the enemy team is like constantly getting knocked on their butt, whether it's from Cassidy's one little targeted hit up. You can see she hits that target in the air so much. Lamont stomping the ground, the shield breaking from Almas, all these things add up. And you notice how like we're not really taking any damage in the first place. I think Coco might actually be overkill in this situation too, and we could probably run a different hero like Soren, which would increase our damage and add to the amount of crowd control we're doing, because he also does that stun and knockback ability. So running these quirky teams that would not normally be ones that you're running is interesting. You can see we're running at what? A little bit over, probably like a 60 to 70% power deficit, whereas a lot of people are running like 100 to 200% when they're really pushing. Let's try that out though. Let's try throwing Soren in this team. I actually do want to feed him energy, I think. Let's feed him some energy and see him get a very quick ultimate too. That might be good, although Cassidy getting it might be the better option. I don't know. It's just adding as many different control effects into these teams will really help the survivability overall. Because again, we have no healing on this squad besides the self-healing that a couple of these heroes have. Yeah, Soren's not going to be the play here. It does seem like we need some kind of support on this type of squad. Another option we could do is, of course, we could run like a Damien. But again, I'm trying to stay away from those more traditional heroes. I mean, Coco does seem like a very good pick for this type of squad. I actually am not mad at it. I kind of like it. With lots of knock-up abilities. The damage reduction she provides with her abilities, she can heal. With her magic charms, she can heal for even more. Does add a lot of survivability to the squad. Oh my gosh. Almost got completely nuked, so he's going to retreat to the back row. And let's see what his damage turns out to be like. Alsa did go down. This must be a very difficult wave to try to push right here. And sometimes when you do use fun, quirky heroes, it doesn't necessarily work out exactly how you want. Not at all. I want to see what the end screen damage numbers are, so I'm not going to restart it though, because I love seeing failures beyond just successes. Yeah, that enemy team is just unloading so much damage to us. So let's mix this up and do something a little different. One thing I was also running, which I am going to go back to earn. I know a lot of people don't want to see it, but one squad I've been having a ton of fun with, and it's very kind of unconventional for what people are used to right now. Where is my Lucius? There he is. I like running this type of team right here. However, I do want to make sure. Switch our hero positionings up a little bit. Something more like this. Yeah, I want the extra damage to come from here. Running a Lucius as a support hero shielder is pretty solid. And here we're getting a much better faction bonus too. We're getting a 3+2 with this type of team. And we're kind of just picking some of the good heroes. We could also run like a Rowan here. Let's see if this team actually works out decently for us. We're still gonna have a decent amount of crowd control. However, this team is gonna get some damage from AoE from Corrin, and Corrin also helps shield the team as well. The downside is we don't have healing, we just have shielding in this type of team, which is a little sketchy. But again, if we can keep the enemy like pinned down against the wall, that's gonna let Corrin surprisingly do a lot of damage. It does look like Almost does finally go down. He does still provide damage and crowd control from that back line as well. Just don't know if this is gonna work. This team seems like a very, very tanky lineup, so trying to get past this wave might be kind of dangerous without going with a meta composition. But you can see the survivability is still surprisingly good, lasting a full minute almost with this squad. Not quite working exactly how we want. We might have to push through some of these using an actual meta team, because you can see right here, yeah, everybody's using more of a meta team. What we could kind of do is just run something a little bit more traditional and not traditional all at the same time. So we could run something along the lines of another team that I've been having fun with, and adding like Floribel into the mix too, while also using Smokey and Mirky. We want to go with our Alsa still, and then beyond that we want to build another tanky type hero, which is going to be Lamont. So we're going to run something like this to see if this works. Still going for a faction bonus. As long as Smokey Mirky can survive is the big issue, and I don't know if he can with just himself as support. He cannot. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop the Alsa, and we're going to instead run a Coco. And again, we're just trying to have fun using some more off-meta heroes, but one thing you'll notice as far as damage dealers go is Smokey's just the best damage dealer right now. You can probably check out the meta video we made yesterday. It's just really hard to beat this team, and honestly, Floribel and Almas is a really cool combo too, because once Floribel gets her second ultimate off, she knocks down everybody on the battlefield, which procs everything. I know we're building much more tanky of a team, but again, if we can't keep our Smokey alive, and this is why some of these lineups, like, there's not much forgivingness in these teams. You have to very much run very specific heroes to make things work the way you want them to. And if we're not using Freyasto, we're already at a disadvantage, because Freyasto is just by far the best hero in the game right now for tanking and pushing. Almost is like a good second in my opinion. He's right up there with viability. He just lacks a little bit damage and some synergy sometimes, but he does provide more control on the battlefield. And yeah, our Smokey is just getting absolutely obliterated. So there's one thing I want to try out. There's been a team that I've been wanting to try for a while, and it actually has to do with sending over the Cassidy to the enemy side of the battlefield using a Rainier. I know this sounds weird, although I don't know if she gets to swap. Let's take a quick look. Does she get to swap over still? Yes, she does. So we got to just keep her alive, because what we want to do is we want to take everybody and push them back over to the Smokey side of the battlefield. We want to get everybody over here so that he is going to be in the aroma. Granted, if we are doing this type of strategy, we can be a little more conservative with our placement of the hero, and this should help quite a bit. The downside with Cassidy, though, is she doesn't quite group them up as good as Aaron. If they're kind of like straggling off to the side, it cannot be as beneficial. And you can see it's not like it doesn't push them all the way across the battlefield, but it is still quite a bit of a distance, which is good, because again, we want to get everybody as close to Smokey and Mirky as possible for this third ultimate here, so that he can put out the damage that we absolutely need. Oh, that's the other thing. If you're using Rainier, you really need to control him manually, because you don't want him to teleport away an enemy that you want to be dealing damage to, because again, these types of teams don't have a ton of damage, so you really need to emphasize and capitalize on that Smokey and Mirky damage. But messing around with cool teams like this is always one thing I really enjoy. Let me push past this one and we'll get to some more fun combat. Sadly, that's the one thing. Occasionally, you do need to run a more meta type team to truly have progression. But again, whenever I can have fun, I always try to emphasize the fun part of it. And this is where I want to rebuild that team again that we were talking about. See if it can continue to push. We're not going to be running Aaron. Again, we're going to be running heroes that are not traditionally used for AFK battles. We're just going to see how this actually performs. We're going to be running a bunch of light bearers as well, which is a really weird team to run overall, but it can actually sometimes work out very, very well. Almas is actually taking a ton of damage here too. He does teleport to the back. Don't know if that's going to be too soon because again, everybody else's ultimates aren't quite coming up just yet. But the bonus here is he is going to provide his shield and healing to Corrin, who is going to turn into like that off tank / damage dealer, which isn't the worst thing in the world because he does come back and shield his teammates too. And you can see here, this is a pretty good survivability type team. The question is, do we have the damage without a Smokey right now? As you can see though, the team stays completely locked down in the back row, and the fact that we're pushing them to the edge of the battlefield means that our Corrin can just unload his ultimates over and over again. The question is it enough damage, even with true damage, to actually get things finished? We lost our Rowan, which was like our only healing left, and then slowly our team is going to go down, sadly. But overall, I've just been having fun trying to find weird, quirky teams like this that work. Sometimes even I know a lot of you guys are gonna be like, this is a waste of a video, it's useless, but I just really like trying to make things work that aren't 100% a meta team, because of course we have multi-stage pushing. Something like this can be pretty cool. He actually lived the entire combat. Damage not so good on this hero. Again, you literally just need to run like Smokey and Mirky in almost every single team. If you're not running him in a team, even if you're going off meta with the other support heroes, you're gonna kind of run into some issues here. And it's like time and time again, I feel like you just end up running right back to like the old traditional teams that you're kind of used to running. Sometimes you can use different heroes, other times you have to stick with the more traditional ones. A lot of times you need to manually control how these heroes are being used too, because if you just jump in this team here and you just use Aaron, he's gonna keep all those enemies away from the Smokey and Mirky, and the most important part is keeping them in the center of the battlefield, manually controlling them. And even if we're not going full off meta, I mean, this can still work decently. We kind of missed one hero with that hit there, but it's already kind of weak from the floor bell. But you can kind of see there are some other alternative heroes. You don't have to stick to the exact meta team to make progression. It's just gonna help if you can afford to have those very specific heroes. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys want me to test some weird, quirky combinations, especially with Almas right now, please let me know. I love testing this stuff out, having fun, and that's why I like building all these heroes. I just like to test so many different things, which is why we have some really weird heroes on our account. Tell me how many people have a Supreme plus Satrana. Tell me how many people have like what, a Supreme plus Nero. We got a lot of weird stuff, and I like trying to make it work. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. I'll see you guys next time.